Gather round, people. For it is autumn and some call it fall. But what we call it around here is it's time for savings, people. We have the Steam Autumn Sale, and it's time to delve into the deepest, darkest pits of value and savings and scavenge whatever we can from its crooked maw, because it's time to delve into the world of PC gaming. Let's start with the game that has shockingly too many, or some would say not enough, first compilations about it. Resident Evil 4 received a remake this freaking year and is on a 34% discount for its base edition with a 30% cut for its deluxe edition. The DLC pack is at a 42% cut, so the base game, you can get it for $39.59. And this is a game well beloved by many people, including old vets of Resident Evil, including Resident Evil 4. It is a game that it reviewed so well that it's a nominee for the Game Awards Game of the Year, and from what I've seen, it looks pretty dang good. It's a Resident Evil game, duh, but it has a bit of a more lighthearted tone than the others. Cracks in a few jokes every now and then, and it has a DLC called Separate Ways that shored up a lot of people's issues with the base game in terms of content that wasn't there that was in the original game. And if you really want to try it and you just don't know, there is a chainsaw demo on Steam right now that you can try out and then judge for yourself if this is a game you want to put a lot of hours into. But yeah, this is a very high quality game that came out this year that's already at a 34% discount. So keep your eyes open for this one. Be the ninja you always wish you could but are too lazy to become with Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice, a game that's one of the more underappreciated FromSoft titles according to some people. This is a game whose reputation consistently and continues to grow exponentially. When it came out, it was well acclaimed, but there were calls of it being kind of polarizing because the game forces you upon a more specific playstyle, which is parrying, that not many people, or look, it's just a playstyle that will either bounce with you or you'll bounce off of it. But with stellar world design, characters, even a story, and boss design, with gameplay that feels fluid and fun and fast-paced, this is one of those games you can continually replay and just get better at it, and the better you become at the game, the more beautiful and spectacular that it looks. And it's 50% off for $29.99. It's only 30 ducks. Not 30 ducks. Imagine how it's the currency. 30 bucks right now. And if you're a fan of FromSoft games, or maybe you want to try them out, Sekiro is a little bit of an outlier, but there's a reason this game won Game of the Year. It's becoming a bit of a meme that this game is always here during these Steam sales. But Persona 5 Royal is unironically one of my favorite games of all time. It is a top 5 game of all time for me. I hold this game in the highest of regards, and it recently came off Game Pass. It is one of the longest games of all time with good replayability, an amazing story, incredible characterization, and really fun combat and gameplay overall. For 40% off, it's available for only $35.99, so about $36, and if you want the Persona Collection, which is Persona 3 Portable, Persona 4 Golden, and Persona 5 Royal, that's 41% off for $58.87, so about the price of a full-priced game. And you get 3 games that can easily run you north of 100 hours each. I'm not the biggest fan of Persona 3 Portable, but Persona 4 Golden and Persona 5 Royal, 2 of the top 10 games of all time in my opinion. Persona as a series is extremely hard to explain to people who have not played Persona. But the synergy, the interplay between the social simulator aspects, which encompass about half the game, and the dungeon crawling RPG, that is the other half of the game, intermixed with an incredible narrative and characters and set pieces, with some of the best soundtracks gaming has to offer. It is a series where you may not even think you would like it going into it, but it will hook you. And it will hook you like few other games or series can do. There's just nothing out there that's really like Persona. What started off as a spin-off of Shin Megami Tensei has blossomed into a phenomenon all of its own. Now, I will caution you that sometimes these Atlas ports are a bit suboptimal and can get kind of frustrating, but they are playable. At least from my experience, I haven't played Persona 5 Royal or Portable on PC, but I've played Persona 4 Golden on PC, which worked. It's just be prepared to use a controller here. And alt-tabbing can be a bit finicky and weird and awkward, but outside of that, these are some of the best games of all time. Please give them a look. Also, if you already have Persona 5 Royal, but you haven't played Persona 4, Golden, play that game immediately. It is incredible. It has its own separate little bundle here for 35% off for only $16.24, but you can also throw in Persona 4 Arena Ultimax, which is a sequel but it's a fighting game, for 60% off for $11.99. And you can get the bundle called the Midnight Channel Collection Deluxe Edition. Look, it's a bit awkward naming convention here. For 51% off for only $26.82. Persona 4 Golden has not aged as well, but I still think it aged pretty dang well. And while it may be a little bit awkward going from Persona 5 back to Persona 4, I think Persona 4 holds its own. It's funny, it's more lighthearted, but can still get really emotional and dark. Has one of my favorite cast of characters of any game of all time. Amazing music, give it a look, it's incredible. Okay, let's get silly. Yakuza, a series that has stood the test of time and is only gaining popularity. And the Yakuza bundle is 70% off for only $18. That gets you Yakuza 0, which is a good starting point for the franchise, Yakuza Kiwami, which is a remake of the first game, and then Yakuza Kiwami 2, which is a remake of the second game. But there's also the Yakuza Remastered Collection, which is 70% off for $18 as well, but gets you Yakuza 3 Remastered, Yakuza 4 Remastered, and Yakuza 5 Remastered. So you can get 6 full games for about $36. That is incredible value, especially for a series that can pull you in and keep you within it for hours on end like Yakuza. If you've seen those karaoke memes on TikTok or YouTube or whatever, yeah, they come from Yakuza, that's the tone, for at least the side content. Keep an eye out for this one. But continuing this little Sega arc of ours, we have Sonic Frontiers, a open-world Sonic 3D game that came out only last year for 60% off for $23.99. And if you want the digital deluxe edition, that's 60% off for $27.99. This game has a bunch of free updates and DLC as well, and is a lot of people's favorite 3D Sonic game, with an absolutely underappreciated soundtrack and gameplay. Many people view Sonic Frontiers as 3D Sonic coming back on track. And there's a lot of people in my community that absolutely adore this game and hound me to no end to play it eventually. And maybe I will. Maybe I will. Though honestly, even if you're not gonna play this, look up the soundtrack, it's really freaking good. Favorite of mine is probably I'm Here Revisited. One of gaming's biggest comeback stories in the making is Cyberpunk 2077. This game was derided on launch for suboptimal features, piss-poor performance, and just feeling underbaked and disappointed at everything that had been advertised for it. But CD Projekt Red got onto the grindstone. They put their nose down to the pavement and continually updated this game, culminating in version 2.0 and the expansion, Phantom Liberty. I can't stop playing this game. I've been playing it on PlayStation, but the PC version is one of the most beautiful games I've ever seen. Night City is encompassing, it's engrossing. There's things to find and explore, and sometimes you'll just go to a quest marker on the map and find a vending machine that has sentience talking to you. It's funny, it's replayable, it's deep, the customization is great, the playstyles are fun and engrossing, and you can easily respec your character if you want to do a different playstyle. Quests normally have multiple ways you can approach them. It is an open world game, but it's a really damn good one at that. And I've been absolutely loving Cyberpunk 2077 right now. If you got burned at launch or you kept away from it, in my opinion, this is one of my favorite games I've played in the last few years. I spent so much time, and I still have a lot to do, in Night City before I even really touched most of the main story. And I haven't even gotten to Phantom Liberty, and apparently that expansion is even better than the base game. But with all the updates, they've also shored up the base game and made it just an overall better experience. 50% off for $29.99, or 39% off for the Phantom Liberty bundle, where you get Phantom Liberty as well, for $55.18. It's been on better discounts in the past, but with the rise in popularity of it now, I don't really see it getting back down to those numbers. I perfectly understand people's hesitation when it comes to this game, but in my opinion, it has quickly become a masterpiece. Speaking of PlayStation, God of War. This is arguably my favorite PlayStation exclusive right now. I hold the new God of War games in extremely high regard, and while they can be kind of movie-esque at times, I love the gameplay loop. I find it fun. It's slower paced, but I love the parrying, the dodging, the combos you can do, the skill trees. I love the side quests as well. And the first God of War game in this Norse arc is 40% off on Steam for $29.99. If you haven't gotten around to God of War yet, I'm a big fan of this game, and I would recommend it. And I imagine Ragnarok will make its way to PC within the next year or two. And while I think Ragnarok is a better game, there's an argument to be made that God of War, this game's storyline, is better, or at least more well-paced, than the follow-up. Great moments, great characters. I find Atreus annoying, but I love Kratos as a character. Boss design gets a bit repetitive because they focus too much on like the similar or same archetype of boss for most of the game, but it's one of the cases where the strengths outweigh the cons for me. Not the biggest discount ever, and this one is on Game Pass, by the way, including Game Pass PC, but Lies of P is a new Souls-like game from NeoWiz. It is essentially a more dark and macabre retelling of Pinocchio. Well, not retelling, but you play as Pinocchio, okay? And I haven't gotten too far into it myself, but I've absolutely adored what I've played so far. It feels like Bloodborne in a lot of ways, and the weapon customization, with mixing and matching different weapon hilts and blades for different effects and combos, is a system I really want to deep dive into and learn about it. It's not the biggest discount or savings of all time right now, especially for this sale. It's 20% off, but it's still $47.99. But if you have a mega hankering for a Bloodborne-esque game, Lies of P does a pretty damn good job of that. If you have Game Pass already, I would recommend playing it there, but if you want to own the game, well, not own because it's Steam, but you know what I mean. If you want to actually get the game for yourself, haven't gotten too far into it, but I've really enjoyed what I've played so far, and I've loved every boss that I fought so far, which is about 2 or 3 of them. Have you ever wanted to rule with an iron fist? Construct your own city in City Skylines today. 70% off for $8.99 for the base game, or 70% off for $11.99 for the deluxe edition. There's also a City Skylines collection that is 45% off for still $229. What did they put in there, Ferrari? But yeah, back to the base game that is only 70% off for $8.99. City Skylines is a well-renowned and beloved city construction and simulation game. And I know the sequel came out not too long ago to some performance issues, but I'm not familiar if the base game or the first game has those same issues. So if you want a really good city simulator from everything that I've heard, City Skylines is right there. Remnant 2 is a bit of an odd one. I haven't played or seen much of this game, but from what I have seen, it is like a third-person shooter with Souls-like mechanics and boss design. It's 30% off at $34.99. Go do your own research in this one. It looks pretty dang interesting, at least. Yeah, I just can't speak that much on this game because I don't know a lot about it. Looked cool, at least. Halo the Master Chief Collection is available for 75% off for $9.99. This is a collection of some of the best games of all time. Halo Reach, Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary, Halo 2 Anniversary, Halo 3, Halo 3 ODST, and Halo 4. You can buy those games individually if you want at 75% off at $1.24 for ODST or $2.49 for the other games. These are all amazing games with amazing replayability, a decentish version of the multiplayer, but the real stars here are the campaigns, which in my opinion are some of, if not the best, FPS campaigns, if not campaigns overall of all time. Incredible games here. These games are my childhood. Love them to death. Oh boy, Claptrap! Borderlands Game of the Year Edition is 67% off for $9.89. The game is the titular looter-shooter, where you go around in the wasteland, fighting off enemies, getting new loot, and new weapons to equip. But the Borderlands Collection Pandora's Box is also available for 92% off, but it's still gonna run you $53.18. But that one includes what I believe is all of Borderlands. And if you've been having a hankering to either return to Borderlands or to try it out, you can at least get Borderlands 1, or if you just want to go in for the long haul, get the whole thing for about $53. It has cel-shaded graphics and an art style that is pretty unique, but a lot of people absolutely adore it, and I would be amiss to say if it doesn't have a special place in the video game industry. It's a very unique visual style, with a gameplay loop a lot of people love, but some may call it repetitive and just bounce off of it. But from my understanding, it's a pretty lighthearted game and series overall, so you can jump in, get some loot, have some laughs, and just have a good time. I love Bayonetta, which is at a 70% discount for only $5.99. This is one of Platinum Games' best games they ever made. It is wacky, it's silly, it doesn't take itself too seriously, but tells a compelling narrative as well, with fun and loving characters. And lovable characters. The combat can seem spammy to some people, but you can get really good at the combat, it's flashy, and it's just a ton of fun. Bayonetta 2 and 3 may only be available on the Switch, but Bayonetta 1 stands the test of time in my opinion. And while it may not be the longest game of all time, sometimes short is sweet. And for $6, there's plenty of content and even replayability here. Now, this is a game I've been meaning to get into for a long time, actually. Prey. Not the old ones, the newer one. You know, the one that came out in 2017? Yeah, that one. It's at 90% off for $3. It's an FPS game with a lot of interesting mechanics, like being able to summon turrets and control them and whatnot. It's kind of mind-melty in certain ways. And you can get the Prey Digital Deluxe Edition for 80% off for only $8. Keep an eye out for this one if you've been craving a good single-player FPS game. Play Titanfall 2, this is non-negotiable. This is one of the best FPS games and FPS campaign games that got absolutely screwed by its release date originally, being wedged between Battlefield and Call of Duty. Titanfall 2 is one of the best FPS campaigns I've ever had the pleasure of playing. This is a campaign you can always go back to and just have a ton of fun. It's lighthearted in a lot of ways. It's man with insert robotic companion that develops a heart throughout the game here. It's fun, it's memorable, brilliant level design, great FPS gameplay. I love the intermix and interplay between the fast-paced and high-mobility-focused, pilot-based gameplay, and then playing as the actual Titan, which is far slower with different loadouts that can swap on the fly for different playstyles. It's a ton of fun. It's 85% off for $4.49 on Steam for the Ultimate Edition. Play this freaking game. Get Titanfall 2 back on the map. I want Titanfall 3 already, EA. Give it to me. It blew me away in stream when the majority of my audience didn't know what XCOM even was. And I wasn't even that big into XCOM myself, but this is one of the OGs, and it was brought back over 10 years ago with XCOM Enemy Unknown. It's a slow-paced strategy game where you have a cast of characters that I believe you can customize to your own preferences. And your goal is to beat mission after mission, and there's a permadeath mode where you have to fend off aliens, and if you lose a character, you lose them for the playthrough. It is a hard game, but a well-beloved strategy game at that, and it's just cool. XCOM Enemy Unknown is 75% off for $7.49, with a few other additions. There's a bundle XCOM Ultimate Collection that is 91% off for $19.70 for XCOM Enemy Unknown, and XCOM 2, I believe, along with the DLC. XCOM 2 by itself is 90% off for $5.99. I have only heard good things from people that have played this game. I'm gonna need to dive into the series myself, but from everything that I've seen in my limited gameplay with Enemy Unknown, it is a game that can pull you in and refuse to let go, and it can be absolutely brutal. Sleeping Dogs may give off the vibe of insert city-based GTA clone here, and yeah, but it is 85% off for $2.99, and I've only heard good things about Sleeping Dogs. It takes that formula and just does it well. And on PC, you get the Definitive Edition, which is all the DLC, I believe. You can easily lose a lot of hours if you're waiting for GTA 6 to come out in, like, I want to say 2030. Oh, yes, the year 20,000. Set in Hong Kong, you play as an undercover agent with the Triads, undercover police officer with the Triads. Game may have came out over 9 years ago. Oh, God. Oh, why did I say that? But if you love GTA and you haven't tried this game yet, you may want to give it a bash. It's only $3. Firewatch may be one of the most interesting and captivating ideas of the walking simulator I've ever seen. I haven't played it myself, but I've seen an entire playthrough back when it first came out. And it's one of those games that just blows your mind over and over and over again. And I dare not spoil where this game goes. What I'll say is the setting is you play as Firewatch, some guy in a lookout tower in the middle of the forest. And you have a fellow member of the Firewatch and a tower kinda close to you who communicates to you via walkie-talkie throughout the entirety of the game as you go on an adventure because something's not right out here. And when two campers end up going missing, that's when everything starts to kick off. It's a pretty chill game, but it's an honestly really cool time. And I enjoyed Firewatch way more than I thought I would when I watched it all those years ago. But just be warned, it is pretty much a walking simulator. And that may not resonate with people who want a lot of mechanical feedback or gameplay. But hey, it's 80% off for $3.99. And Firewatch alongside the OST is 64% off for $9.48. So, hey, there you go. Journey is one of my favorite games of all time. I've played it on the channel, I've played it multiple times before, and I'm going to continue playing it multiple times in the future. It is a short game. It will run you maybe 90 minutes in total, if that. But if it's not one of the most beautiful, captivating, heart-pounding games I've ever played, not a single word is uttered, but it utilizes every frame, every image that the game shows you to further its narrative and to draw you in. It's a very simple objective. You play as this random jabroni out in the middle of the desert with a scarf. There's a mountain in the distance. Go to the mountain. It is very simple. It is a walking simulator, but oh my god, if it's not one of the best examples of it. I wouldn't say it's mechanically intensive, but the mechanics that are there are so much fun. And it epitomizes the idea of going on a journey. It is the purest form and distillation of the adventure genre I have ever seen. I love Journey to death. It is 60% off for $5.99. Do yourself a favor. Dedicate an evening to just playing Journey, because it's one of those games that you'll just keep coming back to experience that journey all over again. And the soundtrack, alongside the visuals, is absolutely world class. Absolutely world class! Here's a fun one. LEGO Star Wars: The Complete Saga. So yeah, if you have me and you watched the Summoning Salt video about this game, I've also played some of the prequel trilogy back in the day. LEGO Star Wars is shockingly fun, and it just brings that LEGO charm alongside the Star Wars charm to deliver a whole that is greater than the sum of its parts, in my opinion. Gameplay isn't the most complicated thing in the entire world, but it's freaking Legos. And if you just want to experience the Star Wars story all over again, but with a LEGO twist, varied map design, varied gameplay, it's LEGO freaking Star Wars. It's 75% off for $4.99. There's also a Star Wars Complete Collection, by the way, if you want to keep your eye out for that, if you're a big Star Wars fan. It's 72% off, but it's still going to run you $81.09. But there's a lot of games included, so go look that one up if you care about that. One of the original indie darlings, FTL, Faster Than Light. It is a roguelike strategy game, kind of, where you control a spaceship, adventure through space. It can happen upon enemy ships, and you can target specific aspects of enemy ships. You're trying to maneuver and manage your own ship when it's sustaining damage and safeguarding your crew. It's not going to be a game that will be for everyone, but if it clicks, I've seen people lose hours upon hours into FTL. It's 75% off for $2.49, and if the tagline in the Steam description, Spaceship Simulation Roguelike like, resonates with you, give it a look. Bully Scholarship Edition by Rockstar Games. They had a game called Bully years ago. Essentially, take the idea of GTA but confine it to a New England prep school. And people have been craving for Bully 2 for years now. And if you want to see what all the hype was about, it's 65% off for $5.24. There's also just a bunch of great individual sales going on, so let's go through some action RPGs real quick. Monster Hunter World is 50% off for $14.99. Absolutely world-class game. It's a great entry point into the Monster Hunter series. If you haven't played it before, give it a look. Same thing with Monster Hunter Rise. 60% off for $15.99. Both those games have DLC. I don't think I'm included in that price, so keep a lookout for that. If you haven't played Dark Souls 1 or Dark Souls 3, skip 2. They are 50% off. For Dark Souls 1 Remastered is only $19.99. Dark Souls 3 is $29.99. Amazing games. You probably have heard about them and that they're super hard, but honestly, I don't think they're that hard to get into. Just go in with an open mind, and you may fall in love with a whole new series. You have Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrate. Though name is weird, I understand that. This is arguably one of my favorite editions of Final Fantasy that have ever come out. I love Final Fantasy VII, I love Final Fantasy VII Remake, and all that it's doing so far. Absolutely fun game. Map design's a bit linear in this one, and enemy design later on gets a little bit, bullet spongy, but on the whole, it's a phenomenal game, incredible characterization, wonderful set pieces, beautiful game, and the DLC storyline with Yuffie, world class as well. Horizon Zero Dawn can easily be one of your favorite games of all time. It is 75% off for $12.49. Keep an eye out for that one. It's another PlayStation game, but it's an open world game. It does the open world idea and checklist style of open world, which is what I like to call, or a lot of people like to call in the past, a Ubisoft-esque game. But it's not Ubisoft. It does that style really well. You have some melee combat, but it's trash. You mostly focus on your bow and arrow and your tools and your kit. I mean, Starfield's 20% off. I mean, it's Starfield. You either love it or it's not going to be for you. Probably not going to be for me, though. I think I talked about Street Fighter 6. It's 34% off at $39.59, so if you've been meaning to get Street Fighter 6, you might as well get it now. And yeah, that'll be our rapid fire section for today. Oh yeah, if you really want Fallout 4, it's 67% off at $6.59. I mean, it's hard to beat that. Dark Souls 2, I should cover Dark Souls 2. I don't like Dark Souls 2. It doesn't do the Dark Souls formula as well as Dark Souls 1 or 3. And focuses in on a lot of subpar mechanics and just enemy placement and boss design overall. It's not about difficulty, because I honestly find Dark Souls to be one of the easier games in the series. Not for me, but hey, it's 50% off for $19.99. Some people love it, maybe you would as well. So that'll be the video there for the day. A lot of savings, there's a lot of deals I haven't gotten to yet. Want to mix in some well-known games, some games that I love, and a lot of lesser known games or games that maybe have faded from public discussion in recent years. There's a lot of great games going on in the Steam Autumn Sale. Keep your eye out. Now's as good a time as any to pick up a game if you've been meaning to get it and go enjoy some video games, yeah? So thank you all for tuning in. My pleasure for making the video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out and helps support future content, and I greatly appreciate it. Stay safe, have a great day, go play some video games again, and as always, I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye, everybody. Until we meet again.